Hello, so today we're going to be putting together my TBR for the month of April. April's my birthday month, so we are excited for it. And as usual, I will be using the TBR Machine website that I made that spits out random reading prompts to pick 3 books off my physical TBR. Is that the right shelf? No, it's not. It's this one that's got hardly anything on it. So I'm making very good progress with my goal of TBR 0. So we'll pick those 3 books to work towards that goal. I am also going to have some books for Series 0, some books for the Orilium readathon, and then a bunch of other audiobooks from the library. But firstly, let's pick our first prompt from the TBR machine and pick a book off our TBR shelf. My office setup is a bit restricted at the moment because I had to move my office into a new room. So I actually don't think I can easily get to my TBR shelf, but we will figure things out, I guess. So our first prompt is going to be, read the book that has been on your TBR the longest. Oh no. So normally when this prompt comes up, I go for The Gathering Storm by Kate Elliott, which I have already made some progress on in previous times when I've put it on my TBR, but it's just not the kind of book I can read through fast. However, I have realized I could get the audiobook for this from Audible. The whole series isn't in audiobook form yet, because imagine reading this book and recording the audiobook. It must take forever, but they've been doing it. So I might change to reading this series via audiobook, but also I'd have to do it through Audible. I don't have any Audible credits at the moment. So I don't want to do that. But another book, like, it's possible that I've been wanting to read Jaren for longer. Maybe. Because I did read the 3rd book in this Jaren series like many, many years ago, before I discovered the Crown of Stars series. So we're going to argue that it's this one, even though I'm pretty sure I purchased this later than I purchased that one. But regardless, this one, as I was saying, I read the 3rd book like back when I was like 20-ish, and at the time, I really loved it. It's something about this girl whose father is like the commander of some kind of space fleet, and she runs away and lives with this nomadic tribe, or at least that's what was happening in the 3rd book. I suspect I'm going to find the relationship much more problematic than I found it when I was 20-ish. I just don't know if this will be for me, but I've been wanting to read it for a long time because I started with the 3rd book by accident. And I've always wanted to go back and read the 1st book. So this will be the 1st book on my TBR. Okay, let's pick the 2nd prompt. Read a book released in 2019. I don't know if my TBR has any 2019 books, because a lot of the books on my TBR are books that I've gotten from thrift shops. So they don't tend to be newer books. 2019 was a while ago though now, so maybe? Okay, so we've got 2 potentials here. This one, Into the Ashes, was released in 2019. The problem with it is that this is the 3rd book in the series, and I still need to read the 2nd book in the series. So this is like a creature horror set in the forests of New Zealand. I really liked the 1st book, so I would like to continue the series, and also the books in the series are short, but I'd have to read the 2nd book as well. The other one I could make an argument for is The Immortalist. Now, this was published in 2018. However, it says that the trade paperback edition, which maybe that's what this is, was 2019. So, like, it could be this one. What I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this decision aside for a moment to spin the next prompt. And if we can fit the 2nd book of that series into the 3rd prompt, then we'll go with that. Otherwise, maybe we'll go with the other one. That's my plan. Okay, 3rd prompt. Oh no. Read a romance book. I don't like romance. I doubt very much that there are any like pure romance books on this shelf. I've made a mess of this shelf now. I guess it just has to be a book that has a significant amount of romance. You know, I suspect that the Jaren book would meet that requirement. But those books are longer than they look, so I don't think I want to read the 2nd one of that in the series. Oh, you know though, these books, the 1st one did have a romance in it. Maybe I can make the argument. I think I'm going to make the argument. Okay. So, I think what I'm going to do for my TBR 0, 3 books off my TBR shelf, I'm going to read Jaren by Kate Elliott, and then I'm going to read the 2nd and 3rd books of the, I think it's called the Tanya McKenna series. I have the second book on my Kindle. I always forget to read books off my Kindle, so it'd be good to get that on the TBR, because I guess TBR 0 I'm mostly thinking about my physical shelf, but it would be nice. Like at some point I'm going to have to address my Kindle TBR. It's not too bad I don't buy too many ebooks, but like there are some, especially like ones I've gotten for free, which I would like, there's no point downloading them and being like, yeah, I got a free book if you never read them, right? Anyway, this looks very small. I actually don't know where my Kindle is at the moment, or I would add it to the pile as like a representative. It seems to have been lost in moving my office around, but I'm sure I can find it. I'll have all of April to find it, right? Okay, so those will be 3 books off my TBR. I'm actually really happy because this is a tiny pile. It looks achievable because I have a lot of other books that I want to read in April. So firstly, let's talk about Series 0, and I need to grab the first book behind you. So the first thing I want to be doing is continuing my Cosmere reread, and I want to read the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. This is like a trilogy box set that I have. I lent this to my cousin and his wife at some point, and I know that they really struggled to get it back in the box after they read it. I think I struggled as well, because these are like mass market paperbacks with really thin pages, but once you've read it once, it kind of like pads out a bit. And they're just like impossible to get out. But I kind of think once I get them out, I might not put them back in the box. I think you can like disassemble the box. Oh look! Oh, that worked. I think I might just throw the box out. Do I need the box? I don't think I need the box. So, Mistborn, at least it looks like the shortest book in the trilogy. It also looks like I've tabbed it on my previous read. Not many tabs, but a few. This is, though, still quite long. 643 pages. So, like, it doesn't look that long, but it is long. Like, let's compare it. This one is 494 pages, and then this one, which is not as thick, is like at least 100 pages longer. Anyway, so I'm going to be reading Mistborn. If you don't know, this is one of Brandon Sanderson's earlier books in the Cosmere, which is his bigger universe that a lot of his books are set in. We're following a girl named Vin, who is a slave, and a group of people who are working together to bring down the Lord Ruler, who has taken over the world and is kind of like an evil dictator type guy. The magic in this world is all based around metal, so people can eat metal, and depending on what metals they ingest and also what powers they have, will depend what powers they get. There is also lots of other kinds of magic in this world, in like kind of an exciting heist type situation. So I'm excited to be continuing my Cosmere reread, but I am worried about adding that to the pile and having time to get through it. As well, for Series 0, my library has just emailed me and told me that my hold for A Day of Fallen Night has come through. So this is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree, which I have on my shelf somewhere. Down there, you probably can't see it. Anyway, I had mixed feelings about Priory of the Orange Tree. I think it should have been made into a trilogy, and I felt like the middle of the book was actually the strongest part. There was too much set up in the beginning, and then the action at the end was all like weirdly paced. But the new one came out. I put a hold on it at the library, so we'll give it a try. But it is like 898 pages or something ridiculous. So adding that onto here, maybe I should get Priory as a stand-in. Okay, I've added Priory to the pile, and now the pile looks awful. Like, very unrealistic as to what I could get through in the month. I just went and looked for my Kindle in the most likely places, and it's not in any of them, so that's a concern. And also, like, I don't know if I can give you a synopsis of A Day of Fallen Night. There's dragons, but not much, but maybe there'll be more dragons in this one than the other one. And I might try and read a plot summary of Priory before I go into this, because I don't remember, but I think as well the stories are quite disconnected from what I've heard, so I don't think it matters, hopefully, that I can't remember Priory very much. Then also for Series 0, I have holds on the audiobooks of a couple of series where I want to reread the first book in the series before I get the second book. Now you might say, why am I not doing that for Priory? Honestly, I didn't like Priory enough to reread it, but I did like it enough to try the prequel. But for these ones, they're ones I really loved, so I want to read the first ones again because that'll be fun. And also I want to go into the sequels. So firstly, I've got An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard, because the sequel, A Sleight of Shadows, is coming out in April. This one was announced quite a while ago, and we've been waiting and waiting, but it's finally going to be here. I know as well when the book first came out, it was only a standalone, so I think people have some conflicted feelings about whether it really needs a sequel. I think it doesn't need it, but I'm not mad about it, so it'll be fun to see what happens. In An Unkindness of Magicians, there's basically this competition happening to see which house of wizards, magicians, I forget what they're called, magicians, it's in the title, Penny. So there's this competition, and each house puts forward someone to the competition, and if they win, then that house gets to be the ongoing leader of the magicians until the next competition. And there's this girl named Sydney who's kind of very powerful and looking to shake up the way that things work in the world of magicians. And then I also have a hold on the audiobook of Vita Nostra, because the sequel, Assassin of Reality, actually came out middle of March. I don't actually know how much the sequel is going to be connected to the first book, but I wanted to read it again anyway, especially because the ending of Vita Nostra is kind of confusing and not exactly clear what happened. When I read it, I went and read a bunch of other people's opinions about what happened at the end, and then went back and read the ending again. And I'm hoping that reading the whole thing again with the ending in mind might give me even more insight into that ending. But regardless, I love it. It follows this girl who ends up being picked by this man to go to this special school, and he kind of gets her to do all these very strange tasks before she can earn her place. And then at the school, the classes are very strange and very unsafe. It's all very abstract and confusing, and I absolutely loved it. There are some bits where I felt like it went on and on a bit, which is why I do like the audiobook. But just there were so many amazing ideas in there. I'm so excited to reread it. So that'll be all the books that I'm reading for Series 0. Then as well, we've got the Orilium readathon in April. I can never remember because it must be the spring equinox. It's hard because down here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's currently autumn, the best season. So it always confuses me that these readathons are named by Northern Hemisphere standards. Anyway, I'm excited for the Orilium readathon. I have decided though to keep things easy because I already have enough to read in April. Although I might try and match some of these books against some of the prompts and see whether I could do something different, but I also want to keep things easy for myself at the end of the year. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to know more about the Orilium readathon. But basically, last year I did the qualification for Illusionist Rogue, and I think I'm going to keep going with that again this year because it's like fairly easy. There's just 3 prompts that I need to read for. So firstly, we've got the Art of Illusion, which is just match your clothes to the color of a book that you're reading. So for this, I think I'm going to read Sanctuary. I actually have this from the library, so I had to fit it onto my TBR somehow. This is by Andy C. Buchanan, who is a New Zealand author I really like. I don't actually know much about what this one is about, and I think I don't want to know, but I can definitely manage to wear black during the month of April. I'm currently wearing black. I don't know about the blue, but we'll see. I got blue eyes, so I guess I'm matching it already. So we'll add that to the pile. Then I need to pass Psionics and Divination. And for this, the prompt is a book with clouds on the cover. And I'm going to read Genesis by, what's his name? Bernard Beckett. So I'm going to read that. This is actually a book that G from Book Roast, who runs the readathon, recommended a long time ago. I can't remember. I think it's like AI or something. It's just a short story novella. So it should be a quick read. I've got it on hold from the library. Just as an ebook, but there's clouds on the cover, so it matches the prompt, and I've been meaning to read it for so long. That's why I've forgotten what the synopsis is, because I've been waiting to read it for so long, so I should just get to it. And then the last prompt, I haven't actually written down what class it's for, but I assume it's shape-shifting because it's a book with a wolf on the cover. And for this, I'm going to read The Emperor's Wolves by Michelle Segara. Now this would be starting a new series, which I'm not supposed to be doing. However, all the books that have been released so far, I'm not sure if there's planned to be more yet or not, but all the books that have been released so far, I think there's just 2, are available on audiobook at my library. I've been struggling to find books available at my library that I want to read lately, so I'm just going to start this series. Again, I've forgotten what it's about. It's just some kind of epic fantasy, a little bit war-based, which does worry me, but I have read stuff from Michelle Segarra before that I've really loved. Some of her stuff is also under the name Michelle West. So I think all my Orilium books, I'm going in not really knowing what they're about, but I'm excited about all of them. So hopefully I can manage to read all 3 of those. And then I have 3 more audiobooks that don't fit into any prompts or challenges, but like I always have lots of time for reading audiobooks, so I needed more audiobooks. And the ones I have is Alone with You in the Ether by Oliver Blake. I think this is some kind of romance. I don't really remember. I'm sure the point of TBRs is to tell you what these books are going to be about, but I just want to go in blind. Oliver Blake wrote the Atlas 6 trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy. I've read the first 2 books. I kind of found them a lot of fun. I've watched some of Oliver Blake's videos on YouTube and I just really like her. I don't necessarily love the Atlas 6, but because I love her, I'm hopeful that maybe I'll like some of her other stuff. And so I just decided to pick this one up. I actually have this bluey one here. I actually got it from the library in physical form, but I also have the audiobook, so I think I'll probably read it in audiobook form. But it's good to have the physical copy there in case I change my mind. Then I also got A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This again would be starting a new series, but again, the library has all the books that have been released, and I think maybe the whole series has been released now. So like, it's fine. Again, I don't know what this one is about, but I've seen people talk about it, like raving about how wonderful it is many times. So I saw it was available at the library and I got it. And then also another one I saw was available at the library when I was just like looking like what is there at the library that I would like to read. And I found Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism. So I always find cults really interesting, but also what I've heard about this book is it really looks at the language cults use in order to like bring people in. And I'm really interested to see how some of that language might compare to some of the language that gets used in corporate environments or like in my previous work environments, especially because I was not sure, am I out of the cult yet or not? I was involved very heavily in agile ways of working, which arguably a cult. So I'd be interested to see how that version of a cult compares to some of the stuff in this book. Anyway, I think that will give me plenty of audiobooks to listen to. I'm a little bit worried it might be too many, but we'll see. As well, I guess this is all the physical books that I'm reading. Oh good, I'm already dropping them on the floor. So it'll be this stack plus a couple of ebooks. Really, this one is the one that concerns me the most. Even though this one is deceptively long, but at least these 2 are short. And this one will hopefully be okay. I don't know if this is achievable, but we are going to try anyway. So let me know if you've read any of these books or any of the other audiobooks I talked about and whether you think I'm going to like them. Also, let me know what books you're going to be picking up in April that you're excited about. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.